And now, everyone, please welcome to the stage Mark Singer.
Hello, baby. It's nice to be back again. You know my thoughts have always been about you. I don't know how I ever got along without you. Hello, baby. Seeing you, it's just divine. With love to guide me, I'll keep you beside me. Hello, baby mine. Hello, baby. There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Before the fiddlers have fled, before they ask us to pay the bill, and while we still have the chance, let's face the music and dance. Soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune, and then there may be teardrops to shed. But while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Dance, let's face the music and dance. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to this, my third solo cabaret. My first took place almost exactly 10 years ago. It was called Songs from the First 50. It was in celebration of my 50th birthday. Now, those of you who are reasonably good at math may have just deduced that I recently turned 60. This I did not find to be remotely amusing or in any way a cause for celebration. Rather, it's been a time of contemplation, of introspection, of reflection, and of course, dejection. These are not exactly the frothy underpinnings of your typical cabaret. I did consider other concepts for this evening. For a time, the working title was, I Amuse Myself, because, quite frankly, I do. But while there was the potential there for amusement, both for me and for others, it just never seemed quite right. No, what this show is about is it comes down to I'm not as young as I feel. I'm definitely not as young as I used to be. The numbers are just going in the wrong direction. So what this show is about is the passage of time. I've chosen songs that relate to my life, the triumphs, the challenges, regrets, people I've known, loved, admired. That first song, Hello Baby, was one of a handful composed by Fred Astaire. That's in conjunction with Walter Reich, the lyrics by Mo Jaffe, and we followed that up with Let's Face the Music and Dance by the much, much more prolific Irving Berlin, a song which received its first performance in 1936 by Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire was one of the heroes of my youth. I was a strange little boy. Part of me has remained a strange little boy to this very day. But to those who would say that, those who would say, you know, he's never really acted his age except when he was 10, I say this: 60 is not the new 50. It's just a variation, another variation on 10. I know a place where dreams are born and time is never planned, It's not on any chart. You must find it with your heart. Never, never land. It might be miles beyond the moon, or right there where you stand. Just have an open mind, and then suddenly you'll find never, never land. You'll have a treasure if you stay there, more precious far than gold. For once you have found your way there, you can never, never grow old. So come with me where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things and your heart will fly on wings forever in never, never land. You'll have a treasure if you stay there, more precious far than gold. For once you have found your way there, you can never, never grow old. So come with me where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things and your heart will fly on wings forever in never, never land. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That song by Julie Stein, lyrics by Betty Comden and Adolph Green, and it is from the musical Peter Pan. Now, Peter Pan, as we all know, never went to school. And had I had the choice in the matter when I was young, I wouldn't have either. As it was, I attended yeshiva, which meant that I could expend equal effort avoiding both my Judaic and secular studies. I think the following story will give you some insight into my attitude towards the whole thing. One afternoon, when I was in 5th grade, which means, of course, I was 10, my beloved sister, Elisa, was called to the school administrative office and asked to account for my whereabouts because no one knew where I was. Where I was in the school playground, where during the lunchtime recess, a stray dog had wandered in, giving me the opportunity to explore two coveted privileges that I'd been denied. The first was a pet, to which my father was adamantly opposed. The second, oddly enough, was the school hot lunch program, which in retrospect was a mistake, but particularly considering my mother would pack these extraordinary lunches for me every day. But I digress. When my classmates went back to class, I stayed behind playing with the dog and feeding him leftover fish cakes from the school dumpster, which were extremely plentiful. I guess I lost track of time. But eventually they found me. I remember it as a rather pleasant afternoon, certainly better than any I spent in the class. This next song by Stephen Sondheim begins with some classroom-like allusions with an A, before moving on to musings on childhood, growing up, as only Sondheim can. There's even there's a second voice in the song, a questioning, mysterious voice, a second character. I like to think it's the dog. No more questions, please. No more tests. Comes the day you say what for, please. No more. We disappoint, we disappear, we die, but we don't. We disappoint, in turn I fear, forgive though we won't. No more riddles, no more jests, no more curses we can't undo, left by fathers we never knew. No more quests, no more feelings. Time to shut the door. Just no more. Running away, let's do it. Free from the ties that bind. No more despair or burdens to bear out there in the yonder. Running away, go to it. Where did you have in mind? Have to take care, unless there's a where, you'll only be wandering blind. Just more questions, different kind. Where are we to go? Where are we ever to go? Running away will do it. Why sit around resigned? Trouble is, son, the farther you run, the more you feel undefined by what you have left undone, and more what you've left behind. We disappoint, we leave a mess, we die, but we don't. We disappoint, in turn, I guess, forget though we won't. Like father, like son. No more giants waging war. Can't we just pursue our lives with our children and our wives till that happier day arrives? How do you ignore all the witches, all the curses, all the wolves, all the lies, the false hopes, the goodbyes, the reverses, all the wondering what even worse is still in store? All the children, all the giants, no more. Thank you. Thank you. I have a theory. You want to stay young? Act young. Some family, friends would say I've taken this to an extreme. But it's always been a part of me. Case in point, one holiday season, years ago, when I was in my late 20s and building my career at the investment firm of Sanford C. Bernstein and Company, one of my colleagues brought to work his two children, ages 10 and 7. I responded as I always did to those situations. I played with them extensively. Well, later that day, I was back in my office trying to get some work done finally, and the two of them stuck their heads in at the door and they're staring at me. Now, I should mention, though in my late 20s, I was prematurely gray, though with considerably more hair than I have now. So the two of them are standing there looking at me. They're very serious, like they're trying to figure something out they can't quite agree upon. And finally, the older one says to me, "How old are you?" To which I answered truthfully, I'm 28 years old. He shakes his head. "No, you're not. You look like you're 40. And the younger one says, "And you act like you're 12. there are girls just right for some kissing. And I mean to kiss me a few. Oh, those girls don't know what they're missing. I've got a lot of living to do. And there's wine all ready for tasting. And there's Cadillacs all shiny and new. Gotta move, 'cause time is a-wasting. There's such a lot of living to do. There's music to play, places to go, and people to see. Everything for you and me. Life's a ball, if only you know it. And it's all waiting for you. You're alive, so come on and show it. There's such a lot of living to do. There's music to play, places to go, and people to see. Everything for you and me. Life's a ball, if only you know it. And it's all waiting for you. You're alive, so come on and show it. There's such a lot of living, such a lot of living, such a lot of living to do. Thank you. Thank you. That song by Charles Strauss and Lee Adams. You know, when I do look back on my youth, I do have some regrets. There were just so many opportunities that I missed out on. Opportunities, yes, to learn, to experience things, to go places, to connect to people, to connect to girls. I just was stuck in a perpetual state of inertia. This next song by Stephen Sondheim, it reminds me a bit of the person I was in those days, of the inertia, of the inner conflict, and the loneliness. What can you lose? Only the blues. Why keep concealing everything you're feeling? Say it to her. What can you lose? Maybe it shows she's had clues which she chose to ignore. Maybe though she knows and just wants to go on as before. As a friend, nothing more. So she closes the door. Well, if she does, those are the dues. Once the words are spoken, something may be broken. Still you love her, what can you lose? But what if she goes? At least now you have part of her. What if she had to choose? Leave it alone. Hold it all in. Better a both don't even begin with so much to win. There's too much to lose. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So eventually, I spent 15 years at Sanford Bernstein. Those years changed my life. It wasn't just the work and the responsibility and the therapy. By the way, my therapist is here tonight, and tomorrow is his 97th birthday. Thanks, Bill. It was during those years that I started to study voice and I started to perform. It was during those years that I met my incredible, beautiful, wonderful wife, Darcy, and we fell in love. And we got married and we started a family. I left my childhood struggles behind, but there was a moment during those years when I was reminded of those struggles and how far I'd come. So at the time, I'd been working at Bernstein for a while, and I was the chief operating officer of a 60-person department in the company, and one of my main reports was the head of IT. And he came to me one day and said, he was pumped because he had found somebody to fill a position he'd been looking to fill for some time. He said, I'd like to bring the guy around to meet you. His name is Gilbert Demby. Now, that's an unusual name. It also happened to be the name of the smartest guy in my high school. So he brings him to meet me. Same Gilbert Demby. Boy, was he surprised to see me in that position. Well, a couple of months later, I'm at a wedding of an old classmate of mine. I'm seated at a table with a bunch of people I haven't seen since high school, and there's including a math teacher, Mr. Schneider. Never cared for me, Mr. Schneider. So towards the end of dinner, he starts going around the table asking people who they're still in touch with from the old days. And finally, reluctantly, he asks me. And I tell him of a few friends I'm still in touch with. And then as a kind of a throwaway, I say, and I'm working in finance, and Gilbert Demby works for me. And there's dead silence at the table as people absorb this. And Schneider he blinks a couple of times like he's trying to clear something foul out of his brain. And he just looks at me, he goes, Gilbert Demby works for you? Call me irresponsible. Call me unreliable. Throw in undependable too. Do my foolish alibis bore you? Well, I'm not too clever, I just adore you. Call me unpredictable, tell me I'm impractical. Rainbows I'm inclined to pursue. Call me irresponsible, yes, I'm unreliable, but it's undeniably true. I'm irresponsibly mad for you. Do my foolish alibis bore you? Well, I'm not too clever, I just adore you. Call me unpredictable, tell me I'm impractical. Rainbows I'm inclined to pursue. Call me irresponsible, yes, I'm unreliable, but it's undeniably true that Gilbert Demby worked for me. I'm irresponsibly mad for you. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Gotta stay moist. Is Ross here? Gotta stay moist. Well, Bernstein made me an adult. Oh, by the way, that song, I should say, was by Jimmy Van Heusen, Sammy Kahn. Bernstein made me an adult, and Darcy made me a person. But I like to think that it's performing that keeps me young-ish. It's a lot of fun. And I've gotten to play these fantastic characters in some marvelous costumes. A grass skirt, a fat suit, a flowing cape with jodhpurs and riding boots once, a very nice black dress with a long blonde wig and 3-inch high stilettos, and I look pretty damn good. Thank you. I'm hoping that was Darcy. I have sung opera with orchestras. I've sung the American Songbook with a fantastic jazz trio, and I have sung countless songs of all kinds with the finest musical director and accompanist I could imagine, Julia Mendelson. I have shared the stage with fantastic performers, and often the fantastic performer sharing the stage with me was the love of my life, Darcy. So that's a pretty good deal. And it ain't over yet. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything's starting to hum. Still, it's a real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine. Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till our lips have met. Wait till you see that sunshine day. You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine. Come the day you're mine. I'm gonna teach you to fly. We've only tasted the wine. We're gonna drain that cup dry. Wait till your charms are right for these arms to surround. You think you've flown before, but you ain't left the ground. Wait till you're locked in my embrace. Wait till I draw you near. Wait till you see that sunshine place. Ain't nothing like it here. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine. Come the day you're mine. We're gonna see that sunshine. The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That song by Cy Coleman Carolyn Lee. One of as I get older, I have come to recognize my need for human connection, for personal connection. For example, I like my work. I like the challenges of my work, but I am most engaged when I'm working on them with others. I love playing basketball, but I love the repartee before, during, after, in between games almost as much as I love the game itself. I adore performing, but it's the connection with the other performers, the dialogue with the audience that make it extraordinary. It is ironic. My inclination, my instinct, is to seek out isolation. But I am happiest when I'm engaged with others, not alone. We travel single, oh. maybe we're lucky, but I don't know. With them, just let one kid fall down and 7 mothers faint. I guess that we're happy, but maybe we ain't. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. We're children needing other children, and yet letting our grown-up pride hide all the need inside, acting more like children than children. Lovers are very special people. They're the luckiest people in the world. With one person, one very special person, a feeling deep in your soul says you were half, now you're whole. No more hunger and thirst, but first be a person who needs people. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. With one person, one very special person, a feeling deep in your soul says you are half, now you're whole. No more hunger and thirst, but first be a person who needs people. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That song by Julie Stein, Bob Merrill. One of the nice things about performing, there are many, is the people you meet. So one day, years ago, I'm sitting on the terrace of my apartment, learning some new music, and a window opens up in the wall of the building next door, about 6 feet over my head. Guy sticks his head out, asks me what I'm working on. That guy was Bob Dawson, a wonderful New York City cabaret pianist. By the way, Bob's new book, Tux Tales, is coming out next month. I'm in it. Bob is here tonight. Bob and I we got to talking. We eventually became friends, and that led to me working with his great jazz trio, doing regular gigs at the Harvard Club. These next 2 songs I learned because Bob insisted. He said, we got to do more waltzes, so you better learn some. The first is by Cy Coleman and Carolyn Lee. The second by Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart. And Bob, of course, was right. People do like to waltz at the Harvard Club. Pardon me, miss, but I've never done this with a real live girl. Straight off the farm with an actual armful of real live girl. affectionate squeeze fogs up my goggles and buckles my knees. I'm simply drowned in the sight and the sound and the scent and the feel of a real live girl. I've seen photographs and facsimiles that have set my heart off in a whirl. But falling in love with love is falling for make-believe. Falling in love with love is playing the fool. Caring too much is such a juvenile fancy. Learning to trust is just for children in school. I fell in love with love one night when the moon was full. I was unwise with eyes unable to see. I fell in love with love everlasting. But love fell out with... So, on the subject of meeting people and aging, here's a story. A few years ago, I was cast in a new children's musical. It was called Rapunzel White. It was a charming mashup of Rapunzel, Cinderella, and Snow White. There were the cast had three pairs of young princes and princesses. There was an equally young witch, and then there was me in the vital role of Herschel the dwarf. Don't ask. Well, one day before the performance, my good friend Brandon, who was in the cast, comes up to me. He's very excited. His mother has come into town. She's never seen the show. She's going to be in the audience that day. So after the show, I seek out Brandon. I want to know what his mother thought. He tells me she loved it, absolutely loved the show. She did, however, have a question for him regarding me. The old guy, she wanted to know, is he single? I fell in love with love everlasting, but love fell out with me. Thank you. And now you all know that I can't waltz. I have been lucky in life and lucky in love, but sometimes one wonders, what if that wasn't the case? There have been numerous turning points in my life. What if at one of those moments I'd made a different decision, the wrong decision, turned the wrong way, said the wrong thing, made a critical mistake? We all wonder, don't we, how our lives might be different. How might my life be different? How might my life be worse? I used to visit all the very gay places, those come what may places, where one relaxes on the axis of the wheel of life to get the feel of life from jazz and cocktails. The girls I knew had sad and sullen gray faces with distingué traces that used to be there. You could see where they'd been washed away by too many through the day. 12 o'clock tells. Then you came along with your siren song to tempt me to madness. I thought for a while that your poignant smile was tinged with the sadness of a great love for me. Ah, yes, I was wrong. Again, I was wrong. Life is lonely again, and only last year everything seemed so sure. Now life is awful again. A trough full of hearts could only be a bore. A week in Paris would ease the bite of it. All I care is to smile in spite of it. I'll forget you, I will, and yet you are still burning inside my brain. Romance is mush, stifling those who strive. I live a lush life in some small dive, and there I'll be while I rot with the rest of those whose lives are lonely too. Thank you. That was Lush Life, Billy Strayhorn. I'm sure there are those here tonight, who attended my last cabaret. It was about 4 years ago, right here at the Triad. It was called Characters, and in it, I talked about some of the more interesting characters who have been a part of my life. But one person I did not talk about that night was Ronaldo. Ronaldo is one of the bread guys at Zabar's, my bread guy. And over the years, he and I have developed a very nice relationship, talking about our lives, talking about our families. Well, one day, my good friend John McCaffrey, who's seated right here, we met at Zabar's, and I told him I want to introduce him to my bread guy. So we get online. It's a very long line for bread that day. Ronaldo's behind the counter. He doesn't see me, but clearly something is wrong because Ronaldo is pissed. He is frowning. He's glowering, really. He's filling people's orders without saying a word. Closer we get to the front of the line, the angrier he looks, until finally Johnny turns to me and he's like, maybe we just skip it. And, he was looking pretty intimidating. I'm thinking, maybe we should. But anyway, we get to the front of the line. Ronaldo turns around. He sees me. Huge smile breaks out on his face. He's just so glad to see me as I am to see him. I introduce him to Johnny. He turns to Johnny, points to me. He goes, this is a good man. This is a very good man. The best. Well, it's a long line. We can't linger. We pay for our stuff. We're out on the street. Johnny turns to me. He says, that guy was so happy to see you. No one has ever been that happy to see me in my entire life. Which, by the way, I don't think that's true. But it was a dramatic moment.
Even my wife.
Especially, no. So, so, with apologies, I gotta say, with apologies to Julia, first and foremost. I've seen Ronaldo many times since then, and it's just always so nice to see him. It's one of those little things in my life that gives me joy. So, with apologies to Cole Porter, here is my take on Ronaldo's inner monologue the day I introduced him to Johnny. My story is much too sad to be told, but practically everything leaves me totally cold. The only exception I know is the case when I'm handing out loaves of bread, fighting vainly my pounding head, and I suddenly see instead your fabulous face. Baguettes, they give me a pain. Pumpernickel doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me, why should it be true that I get a kick out of you? Some always order whole grain. I know that if I take even one sniff, it will bore me terrifically too. Yet I get a kick out of you. I get a kick every time I see you standing there before me. I get a kick, and it's clear to see you obviously also adore me. Bagels, they drive me insane. Onion or rye, even plain makes me cry, and the everythings sicken me too. Yet I get a kick out of you. Bagels just drive me insane. Salted or wheat, multi-grain smell like feet, and the poppy seed makes me feel blue. Yet I get a rise. Ooh, you act just like yeast. Yes, I get a kick out of you. Me. God, what did you do to it? Johnny, get some therapy.
I'm still bitter.
Being a parent is one of the great joys in my life. Has been ever since my son Akiva was born, over 25 years ago. I was very fortunate that when he was growing up, we got to spend a lot of time together, and my love for him has only grown with each passing day, which makes the inclusion of this next song by Jerry Herman a little weird. Because it is the song of a parent with regrets, with serious regrets about their parenting and questions about their parenting. So one wonders, Darcy wondered, why would I include it in the show? Well, for one thing, it's a great song, but also there are things in it that remind me of Akiva, that remind me also of the concept for the show tonight. The very first line of the show, which is "Where's that boy with the bugle?" I have changed to "Where's that boy at the piano?" because that is where Akiva spent many, many hours and still does, working on his music. But then there's also the line in the show, a reference to dull days and wild nights. Like his father, Akiva was not enamored of school, particularly not the extremely dull school that we sent him to. And it was reflected in his behavior. Now, I recently found a note that he wrote, a note of apology to his first grade teacher, "Dear Ravit, I'm sorry for burping. I hope you feel better. I won't, W-H-O-T-E, do it again, A-G-E-N. School was not only dull, but really bad at teaching spelling." But with two parents who were singers, Akiva's nights could be a little wild. There were late night rehearsals. There were performances. There were crazy performers around the apartment much of the time. And as for the song itself, there is a reference in it, as you'll hear, to sort of the inevitable fast passing of time. But Darcy has insisted that I read the following. Any resemblance between me and the parent in this song is not only incidental, it is inaccurate, erroneous, fallacious, and just plain untrue. But I'm going to sing it anyway. Where's that boy at the piano? Our little man who was always our big romance. Where's that boy at the piano? And why did we ever buy him those damn long pants? Did he need a stronger hand? Did he need a lighter touch? Was I soft or was I tough? Did I give enough? Did I give too much? At the moment when he needed me, did I ever turn away? Would I be there when he called if he walked into my life today? Were his days a little dull? Were his nights a little wild? Did I overstate my plan? Did I stress the man and forget the child? And there must have been a million things that my heart forgot to say. Would I think of one or two if he walked into my life today? Should I blame the times I pampered him, or blame the times I bossed him? What a shame I never really found the boy before I lost him. I lost him. Were the years a little fast? Was his life a little free? Was there too much of a crowd, all too lush and loud, and not enough of me? Though I'd ask myself my whole life long, what went wrong along the way? Would I make the same mistakes if he walked into my life today? If that boy at the piano walked into my life today. Thank you. As I said, there was a performance vibe, a creative vibe in our house as Akiva was growing up, and he was into it. It wasn't just the piano, although clearly there was that. When he was 5, I ruptured a vocal cord, and I had to go on complete vocal rest for 2 weeks, but every day I would write him a letter talking about my day and how I was feeling. He, in turn, would dictate a short note for his mother to give to me, and I've saved them. And I'm going to read 2 of them to you. First, Dear Abba, I liked the letter you sent me today, Abba. I liked the picture you sent me today. I like when we are silly and funny together. I wish we can do it again soon. I liked when we made pizza in Liz's cooking class today, and I liked when we made something today and we grated the cheese and we mashed up chickpeas and people liked it, and they smashed it in their face. They didn't really smash it in their face, though. That's all. Love, Akiva. And then there's this one, shorter. Don't worry. Dear Abba, I liked your message this morning. I'm going to keep writing to you until you can sing again. I love Paris, and I'm so excited for Passover. Mommy thinks you have really nice legs. Love, Akiva. Now, that's not his most creative, but I dig that last line. Years later, at his bar mitzvah, he did not give a speech. Rather, he wrote, performed, and produced a play that took place in the middle of the service. But really, the highlight, in my opinion, were his birthday parties, which were big productions that grew more complex with time and culminated in what I believe was his 10th birthday party, which had a haunted house theme, complete with, there were costumes and sets and props, and there was a viewing party of Young Frankenstein. There was a smoke machine, which I still must have somewhere. I don't know what came over me, but I decided for this production to do an audio recording. It was 10 minutes long, and in it, I introduced my own creepy voiceovers into pre-recorded sound effects, scary sound effects I'd taken off a CD, and I individually greeted by name each child who was going to attend the party. I was very proud of this, as Kiva was too. I played it for my beloved sister Elisa, who was horrified. She was pretty sure that any parent, especially one whose child would actually be attending the party, would also be horrified, that the children would be traumatized. So I was on my way to becoming a parental pariah, which would have been okay. But anyway, we did play it. The kids, they were 10 years old. They loved it. And by way of an introduction to this next song, we're going to play the greeting of Akiva's friend Ella, because this next song by Carol.
Ella? I think I'll boil you in a stew.
Those fingers in my hair, that sly come hither stare, that strips my conscience bare. It's witchcraft. And I've got no defense for it. The heat is too intense for it. What good would common sense for it do? 'Cause it's witchcraft, that wicked witchcraft. And although I know it's strictly taboo, when you arouse the need in me, my heart says yes, indeed, in me. Proceed with what you're leading me to. It's such an ancient pitch, but one I wouldn't switch, 'cause there's no nicer witch than you. Ladies and gentlemen, Julia Mendelssohn. 'Cause it's witchcraft, that wicked witchcraft. And although I know it's strictly taboo, when you arouse the need in me, my heart says yes, indeed, in me. Proceed with what you're leading me to. It's such an ancient pitch, but one I wouldn't switch, 'cause there's no nicer witch than you. There's no nicer witch than you. Thank you. Thank you. Cy Coleman, Carolyn Leigh. I'm a numbers guy. Always have been. When I was growing up, I was obsessed with this board game, Stratomatic Baseball. I played it constantly. I spent much more time on it than I did on my studies. I would keep score of every game. I would keep copious statistics. I would even do the play-by-play of the games out loud, which isn't really a numbers thing, but I did that. And sometimes I would get my brother Barry to do the color commentary with me. We didn't have a lot of kids in the neighborhood to play with. When I was older, despite having a degree in English literature, my work was all very quantitative in nature, whether it was at Bernstein or later on at Finn Partners. Now, is there anything more quantitative, numerical in its nature than the way we measure the passage of time? Now, I myself, when I think back on my life, I'll think about how old was I at a certain point in time, or how much time has passed since a certain important event occurred. But I will say that there is really only one important, meaningful marker of time for me, and that is AD. And by that I do not refer to Anno Domini, I refer to after Darcy. Because after Darcy, I became a different person, a better person, a happier person. Before Darcy, which I guess is BD, I don't even barely recognize that person. They say that time passes more quickly the older we get, and that certainly has been my experience. But with Darcy, I want everything to slow down. I want to savor every moment. She's a clock stopper. She stops time. The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem to me, that's everything. The mere idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow the moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, your eyes in stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love. You go to my head, and you linger like a haunting refrain, and I find you spinning round in my brain like the bubbles in a glass of champagne. You go to my head like a sip of sparkling burgundy brew, and I find the merest mention of you like the kicker in a julep or two. The thrill of the thought that you might give a thought to my plea casts a spell over me. But I say to myself, get a hold of yourself. Can't you see that this never can be? You go to my head with a smile that makes my temperature rise. Like a summer with 1,000 Julys, you intoxicate my soul with your eyes. Though I'm certain that this heart of mine hasn't a ghost of a chance in this crazy romance. You go to my head. You go to my head. Thank you. The very thought of you, that was Ray Noble, and You Go to My Head, Haven Gillespie and J. Fred Coots. We have reached the end of our show. There will be one more song by Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Kahn. According to my watch, I am a little over an hour older than when I started the show. Not that I can feel it. Just like I can't feel how old I really am. Now, we all feel younger than we actually are, don't we? I remember my father, towards the end of his life, would say to me, the numbers, Mark, I can't believe the numbers. And he was talking about his age, not his investment portfolio. Do I feel young? Yes. Do I act young? Well, apparently I think so. But I have to remind myself, it doesn't matter. What matters is right now. So 60 is not the new 50. It's just 60. But just like 50, it's not about yesterday, although there are far more yesterdays than there used to be. It's about today and what tomorrow will bring. Today I may not have a thing at all, except for just a dream or two. But I've got lots of plans for tomorrow, and all my tomorrows belong to you. Right now it may not seem like spring at all. We're drifting and the laughs are few. But I've got rainbows planned for tomorrow, and all my tomorrows belong to you. No one knows better than I that luck keeps passing me by. That's fate. But with you there by my side, I'll soon be turning the tide. Just wait. As long as I've got arms that cling at all, it's you that I'll be clinging to. And all the dreams I dream, beg or borrow, on some bright tomorrow, they'll all come true. And all my bright tomorrows belong to you.
Everyone, Mark Senior.
Okay. Guess what? It's gonna shock you to hear this, but we've prepared an encore. Encore! It's about time. What took you so long? This song actually was suggested a few years ago by John McCaffrey, and it is by Dean Kaye and Kelly Gordon. That's life. That's what people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June. I said that's life. Funny though it may seem, some people get their kicks stepping on a dream, but I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this old world keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race that's life. Funny though it may seem, some people get their kicks stepping on a dream, but I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this old world keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself lying flat on my face, I just pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life, that's life. I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just won't buy it. And if I didn't think it was worth a try, I just roll myself up in a big ball and cry. Bye-bye. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so
Everyone,
much.
Mark Singer.
Thank you.